Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So I am going to give people a few minutes to come into the room. Hey Eric, hey Akeem, hey Jupiter Black. Lavon, you always picking on me. Why you always picking on me? But hey everybody, I'm gonna let people slowly come into the room as a notification goes out. Hey Helena. I'm not expecting to be here as long as I typically would tonight, you guys, just because I am having a little bit of a headache here, and I don't know, you can probably even hear it in my voice too. Hey T's Corner Store, hey Lordville, hey Political Pug. But I see people are slowly coming into the room. So happy Tuesday to everybody coming into the room. Happy to have you guys here. And like I was basically just saying, I probably won't be here as long tonight. I wanted to briefly just touch on a couple of topics that have or may have not been in your media, because you know how your media does. I mean, you know how they are. Hey, Rhaegar. Hey, Cars. But yeah, so we're going to talk about just a couple of things here tonight. Let me go ahead and start by sending a special shout out to my Patreons. Thank you to my VIP patrons. Thank y'all so much for supporting my content. Whether y'all know it or not, my messaging, the wording is getting out. So thank y'all for the people that's been rocking with me for the longest, for y'all that share my videos. I am trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of 2020. So please help me. Please keep sharing. I think I'm maybe like 600 subscribers away. A special thanks to my VIP patrons, Ray Ray and Michael Ray. I was actually just interviewed by Ray Ray last night. I don't know how many of you were able to catch that, but it was really good. We talked about Second Amendment stuff and some stuff that's been going on in the news lately, things like with the St. Louis couple and things like that. So it went really well, and I do thank him for inviting me onto his platform. So if y'all haven't checked that out, make sure you do. The link is in my community tab, and I'll probably drop it below this video a little bit later. Thank you, Cars. But yeah, so I also posted a video earlier today, a clip of me speaking on the panel in Orlando, Florida, at the Libertarian National Convention. I was invited by Gun Owners of America to speak on that panel, and it went really well. And so I posted a clip of that earlier today, and I'm actually going to post another clip maybe tomorrow or later this week that kind of ties into something I'm going to be talking about a little later in tonight's show as well. But hey, Black Introvert, hey, Edward, hey, Grace, hey to everybody coming into the room. And for the people coming in, like I said, this will be a little bit of a shorter show tonight. I do have a little bit of a headache, but I really am trying my best to keep this commitment as much as possible to every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. And so, yes, I am here. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the first topic here with your boy, Kanye West. So, as many of you will notice, when Kanye West came out with his announcement that he was going to be running for the president of these here United States of America, I did not do a video on that. I did not cover the content about it on Twitter. I may have retweeted, a couple of things here and there, but I did not make a big deal out of it. I don't know why people continue to love to get swept away in things that are so easy to see that is, part entertainment. Yes, you know, Kanye West, it looks like he is actually trying to run for president. I kept seeing some different things about if he was able to get his name on a ballot. Some people were saying yes, some people were saying no. I'm not briefed up to this very moment if he was able to or not. But whether Kanye West wants to run, it's a freaking free country. If you are so fearful that he is going to take hundreds of thousands of votes from your candidate, then you probably need to be looking at your actual candidate. I mean, I'm so sick of this. Oh my God, you have to vote within this freaking binary, and us falling susceptible to the binary and seeing how that has worked or has not worked for us, depending on your own particular interests. And so I'm just really over the idea of get in line. I'm just, it's annoying to me. So I wouldn't come out and say that, I wouldn't go as far as to say, oh my God, I'm going to freaking vote for Kanye West. What I would say is that, like, people can do what they want. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's as newsworthy as people have tried to make it. Now, let's talk about this Harriet Tubman statement. All right, so I'm pretty sure most of you already saw that like Introvert said he has an album dropping, Rhonda. I mean, like, Kanye is Kanye. Like what do people not get at this point? And I don't know why, but I'm just usually like super drawn to people that just like don't care, don't color in the lines, I feel like Kanye is a lot like me in the fact that he don't like being told what to do. Like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I just, I don't have to do what you do. We don't have to agree on everything. And I think it's something very intriguing about that energy that he's always had well before, all this information came forward about, him and being on medications and stuff like that. But let's talk about this. Like Introvert said, that's that Gemini stuff. You already know, right? I wasn't going to say it. I was trying to like not go there. You didn't have to bust me out like that. But anyway, so let's talk about the whole Harriet Tubman statement in the video, which I'm sure a lot of you guys saw as well. Now, this is my opinion on it. So the original video that we saw that went viral, this video was super abrupt. They literally cut off the video before he can even make it wasn't a complete thought, right? And so if you don't know, his statement was something similar to Harriet Tubman did not free the slaves. She basically just delivered them to other white people, right? People were highly offended by that. People were mad about that. And I can't understand to some extent, but, I'm going to give some nuance here and look at this from a couple different ways. So, first of all, let's address the fact that every single freaking day, y'all, and y'all can be whoever I'm talking to. If I'm talking to y'all, that would be you, okay? There are people that get on these apps every single day and literally sit here and say, we are slaves to capitalism. Slavery never ended. Athletes are really slaves. Free-ish. You got people walking around. This is so weird to me. The psyops that they do on y'all and the some of the things y'all like repeat and are willing to wear and willing to say, it's just so weird to me. But these free-ish since 1865 shirts. Like, I mean, you know, like, so people get on this app every day and basically refer to themselves as slaves every single day. This is happening. People walk around with t-shirts basically referring to themselves as slaves or only free-ish. Now, if we're looking at what does freedom, actually mean, that could be very subjective. I think that is going to mean different things to different people, right? Even if we're comparing ourselves to a place like, for example, China. Compared to the current America that we have here. But I just find it so odd, right? That people that literally talk about slavery every day and how we are still slaves. Oh, we're not free. There's still slavery in the 13th Amendment. You were never free. But now all of a sudden, y'all so upset by this statement and freaking run off with the information before even hearing the actual context. How does that make sense? How does people that were just calling athletes in the NFL slaves now mad because that same sentiment is said in a different way? It's the same thing, right? So when I went to listen to the clip in more full length, as I expected, I didn't want to put words in this man's mouth because I'm like, what the heck is he trying to say here? What's his point? I didn't know if he was, I didn't know if we was going to a history lesson. I didn't know what was happening here. But as I go to actually listen to the clip, as I expected, upon further listening, he goes in to talk about what everybody y'all already be talking about on the internet every day. You're a slave unless you own something. Ownership. Okay? Working for within these different systems, right? Now, granted, I'll be, honest here, and this is where I give Kanye a little bit more pushback. I'm not one to, like, even how people are doing John Lewis right now, right? So, John Lewis recently passed, and he was very well known for getting beat up during the civil rights movement. I mean, that's just the most honest way for me to put that. And going to jail several times, and you have a lot of people kind of I don't think discrediting is the word I want to use, but it could be a very hostile position that some people take for a time that y'all didn't live in. And also, a lot of these people are Twitter fingers. Like, they're actual Twitter fingers. Like, what do you do other than rage tweet? You know what I mean? So I think, even with Harriet Tubman, right? I don't really like this idea of completely discrediting people, but I do think that sometimes we have these heroes, right, that have this legacy that we try to keep intact and never question, when in actuality, I think things should be a little bit more nuanced, right? I think we should look at the good and the bad. Even me, I talked about this, right, with the whole Martin Luther King thing. Like, I'm way more Malcolm than Martin, right? That's just me. That's just my vibe. But that's not to go as far as discredit anything or say anything so ugly about it, like as my grandma would put it. And so, yeah, it's nothing wrong with looking at these people and trying to relate these concepts to our to now, right? And also something that I really want y'all to remember and think about and digest. A lot of your heroes have been given to you. They've been presented to you on a silver platter. This is something that people are going to have to reckon with. I don't care if we're literally talking about, I don't give a crap if you're talking about LeBron James. And I say LeBron James because when I say entertainers are not leaders, the first people, what you trying to say, LeBron? Okay. So we know we have people that look up to LeBron, right? And we know these people have to, their positions have to align with their sponsor. We've seen this. It's painfully clear. Okay. So, and then you have this push that they're trying to do with the person like Bubba Wallace. And then even when we read our textbooks or you think about civil rights, you have people that they push up, like the Martin Luther Kings, like the John Lewises, and the Harriet Tubmans. So yes, yet and still, it's still important that we look at these people, you know, as a whole. We have to take a very holistic approach. People are still human, right? People are not perfect. Some of these people, you know, did their movements really hit the mark? I mean, did they? Particularly when we look at, you know, the civil rights movement, right? And then we think about some of the adverse effects or some of the things that I don't even think, you know, people may have thought about in that time. But we have to remember when somebody is given to you, and I've said this several times, even when you look at Bubba Wallace and Kaepernick, and you look at your look at any of your news anchors, right? There's a very palatable, very safe people that they choose. That's just the honest freaking truth. Do y'all honestly think a Nike and a Disney is going to sponsor a revolution? Like, are we that naive? So rightfully so, when we have corporations endorsing people, or even when we have textbooks, right? You're not going to go to Malcolm X route when they tell you to arm yourself, support the freaking businesses in your community, keep your families together, support and protect your women. It's a certain image that you're not going to get. I literally just talked about this today. I talked about this today on Twitter, and I reposted it on Instagram. Let me read this to y'all. Every single thing, until people realize that every single thing we see is filtered, you can't see. You're not seeing. Every single thing we see is filtered. Your heroes are given to you, right? I posted this. I said over 1,000 armed black men marched in Georgia. Peaceful. No one touched their hair on their head. Yet none of your mainstream media covered it. I think ABC was the only ABC, if I'm not mistaken, was the only mainstream media to cover it. None of your other mainstream media covered it, okay? Ask yourself, why is the mainstream media so committed to the narrative that black people are either completely savage or completely docile? Then I said, but how many news stories have we seen about the St. Louis couple, though? Good, bad, or indifferent. The St. Louis couple is painted as wanting to protect themselves and what's theirs. Yet, the narrative for Negroes is always kneeling, crying, and praying. So those are some things to think about. Those are really some things to think about when we think about the imagery that is projected, right? Whether, regardless of how you feel, your personal feelings about the St. Louis couple, and regardless of your personal feelings, good, bad, or indifferent, about the black armed protesters, the media creates narratives by filtering information. They either cover it a certain way or they don't cover it at all, right? But why is something like that not shown? Is it because they know that you have millions of black men who don't fall in either spectrum? They don't fall in the docile spectrum. They also don't fall in the villain criminal spectrum, right? They believe in non-aggression principles, but they absolutely will will do whatever it takes to protect their family and to protect their home. Do you think maybe that image can be contagious? Think about it. Think about it. Putting that image into people's heads that if you are armed, if you are working together, if you come together for a common cause, people are less likely to mess with you. It's just the freaking truth. Whether it's a civilian or an officer, they're going to think twice. They're going to think about the ramifications, right, of messing with an armed person. And rightfully so. That's how it's intended to be. So there's a very deliberate propaganda that's happening here. And if people don't understand that every single thing we are seeing is filtered, right? Just imagine people in these inner cities. See, I'm about to take some of y'all too fast because it's a vision here. It's a vision here. And a lot of people are not seeing it yet, but they know the true power, right? So just imagine, right? Now you have all these people seeing that. And now you have all these people in these inner cities taking up arms. They say, you know what? I could protect my home. I could be my own first responder. What happens now? Now you don't need the politician coming in saying, oh, the boogeyman is coming to get you, even though the freaking police may take 15 to 20 minutes to show up to your spot anyway. Now the politicians can't tell you, oh, have you ever thought about defunding the police? All of these things start to play differently when you actually move differently. When you started putting ideas in regular people's head and empowering them too much, now they may move out your freaking city. This is all interrelated. And this is why it's very important how we have these discussions. A lot of times people just want to talk about people about how to vote. Oh, you vote like this. Oh, you vote like this, your life will change. Oh, you vote like this, your life will be so much better. I've never gotten on here and told people how to vote, ever. Once people actually focus on principles, that's what I'm about. Once people actually focus on principles, whether y'all realize it or not, these things are all interconnected. That's why it's important how we talk about them. We can talk about the principles of issues without even freaking ever talking about politics. I never have to talk to a person about voting when I'm talking to them about, dude, like how's that, working out in your city, like the crime, the, the police thing. Like, do you trust the police? Do they take a little long to show up? How do you feel about it? And even putting that idea that, have you ever thought about owning a firearm? Have you ever thought about being able to respond to a life threat? Now you plant this seed grows, it becomes a principle now. It becomes a way of life. Everything else will follow. Everything else will follow. I was talking to a friend earlier today. I was like, you don't even realize, a lot of people don't even realize how they are literally moving off the basis of economics, right? I have so many people, you're literally moving for better opportunities, lower taxes. Okay, now are you going to think about how this is actually impacting you? Even when it comes down to just simple things, right? We have we talk about the principles of having strong families and how that impacts you on a very communal level. This has nothing to do with having direct talks about national politics, right? Even down to this pedophilia thing that I'm going to be talking about a little bit tonight, because you literally have, and this is what I say when I say interconnected, you have activists in the Black Lives Matter organization being exposed for being into pedophilia. Not only when you have these strong families does that ward that away, from your actual children, but literally helping the community, right? You have these thousands of men that get into the street because of this George Floyd situation. What about if the idea gets into your head? Did you know you could do this all the time? Did you literally know you can patrol your home? You can patrol your community. The media doesn't want us. It's too much of a seed. It's too much of a seed, and it leads into a direction that they don't want us to go. Right? Armed people are more self-sufficient and more self-reliant people. And when a politician comes to you acting like you can't be self-sufficient or self-reliant, and when that seed has already been planted in your mind, now you're going to be looking at things differently. And so for some of the people, coming into the room a little bit later, by no means would I ever disrespect the legacy or the work of any civil rights leader or anything else like that. But to act like we can't have these conversations, or certain people can't even be mentioned, especially when it's so hypocritical, because people basically make these points every day and nobody ever gives them pushback. And honestly, I think I should maybe start being the one to give people pushback, because I'm actually offended. I don't like the point at all, right? I don't like the point that Kanye West was trying to make. However, I know he was trying to create more of a point that the media originally ran off with, right? So there was more context to what he was actually saying that was not included. But to be honest, I don't like the point at all. I've said that. I do not like when this generation literally tries to use slavery in the same word of people who you can call in sick. Like slaves can be like, I'm not feeling this today. I don't think I'm coming in. They weren't signing contracts. Like I just never liked that whole thing anyway. But y'all do it every day. People on the internet literally doing it every day. You had LeBron James, who referred to the freaking NFL, alluded to, right? He didn't say it directly, but he said the NFL owners are basically like masters, which would imply that the people playing are slaves. So I don't even like that terminology. Like I never say that. I never compare us, man. Even to the previous generation, when I talked to my aunts and uncles, and you talking about people fighting every day because they were the first ones to integrate these schools. It's, to me, it's like how dare you, you know? So on that tip, I just don't like the wording. That's just me. But I'm also not gonna cry about it, right? I'm not gonna, you know, like, I believe people had a freedom of speech. So, you know, but just as a personal thing, I never use that terminology to make those references. However, I will talk about freedom, even juxtaposing that, juxtaposing, you know, when we look at, you know, because even I struggle with this, and I've talked about this, right? People will say, oh, you know, America, it's so free. We're so free. And, you know, yes, we are. That's but that's also subjective, right? Because you can say, yes, we're free if you're looking at America versus China. Like, look what the heck they're doing in China, right? But then, even deeper in me, I'm looking at these thousands of freaking laws on the books, right? I'm looking at now, potentially you have officers showing up because your freaking tent too dark. You have officers showing up because you're not wearing a mask. You have officers showing up because you weren't supposed to barbecue in this park, right? And so now, when you tell me to read this American history book, and you're upholding these founding fathers and trying to make this idea of, oh, look how dope they were, you know, they found this country on the idea that we could shoot tyrants, but then you tell me I can't shoot tyrants, and I'm like, what's free? You know what I mean? So, you know, that's just me. So it's definitely levels to it. I honestly feel like people are so far gone, and we're so under this system that I don't even think people can fathom, right? I don't even think people could fathom that level of freedom that was actually intended, right? And of course, you're gonna have to correct for, at that time, you have things like slavery and stuff like that. But I'm literally just talking about, even just when you go into the Constitution, and you're talking about the Second Amendment, right? And it says shall not be infringed, right? People can't fathom that. People can't. It's so hard to grasp, because we've gone so far to, even for people to have even a certain level of personal responsibility, right? Even when we're talking about the schools. I think I talked about this last week. People are freaking out because the government is suggesting, okay, send your kids back to school. People, the government is trying to kill my kids. Well, have you ever considered not sending your kids back to school? I mean, that's literally an option, right? It may not be the easiest option. There may be some sacrifice there. You may have to make some adjustments, right? But they're literally not holding a gun to your head saying your kid has to go to school this fall. But people can't fathom that. They can't, for some reason, they can't wrap their head around that they have a choice. So, I mean, but you know, Mel said online school is an option. So, you know, people can't, and with freedom comes sacrifice, right? So, you know, you're going to have to make a choice. Do you want to listen to the government that is suggesting this, right? Because you're basically giving them this authority. Or you could say, well, I'm going to make this sacrifice. I'm going to make some shake because this is more important to me. What I want, my convictions about my child not going back to school is more important to me. So I'm going to find a way to adjust, right? And I talked about some of those ways that could be done last week. I'm not really going to go into that tonight. And then let's also, I think I have Kanye West tweets up here as well. I want to briefly just talk about this whole, people were, going crazy. So some of the tweets from last night, everybody knows the movie Get Out is about me. I put my life on my God, that North's mom would never photograph her doing Playboy, and that's on God. I'm at the ranch, come and get me. If I get locked up like Mandela, y'all will know why. NBC locked up Bill Cosby. I love my wife, my family must live next to me. It's not up to E or NBC anymore. He talked about righteous indignation. And I think that was mostly it, right? And so, of course, Twitter was popping. It was going crazy. Everybody was talking about this. I think Kanye was like the top trending. I don't know. He probably had like 5 or 6 top slots trending on Twitter. And, what I want to say about this is, and I've talked about this before, is that people talk about mental illness and how serious it is, but I think that there's a very condescending tone that goes with this from time to time. And why I say that is because I cannot say this is the case every single time, but there is a segment, and I would guess a large segment of people that deal with mental health issues, right? So whether that be from war, whether that be from sexual abuse, whatever that may be from, if you have been around people with mental issues, you will notice that you do have a segment of people that even when they're going through an episode, what they're saying actually has some connection or validity to something they've actually been through, talked about, experienced. So this idea, right, to just everything a mental health person, a person that deals with mental health issues says, ignore them, block it out, it's just an episode, that's super annoying to me. That's super annoying to me, right? If you've known or dealt with veterans, particularly people that will actually have nightmares and things like this, sometimes like their brain is recounting or recounting those experiences, right? So though we can't go as far as to verify everything that Kanye West is saying, what I will say is that, for one thing, we know his history, okay? We know the history with his wife, how she blew up, things like that. We know, particularly the most concerning thing with me is, y'all know I love the kids, hashtag save the kids, right? And he's referencing his oldest daughter. And we know there is no secret, all right, that there's a pedophile rings in Hollywood. I don't know if y'all know people that have worked in entertainment. There have been people that have made it very clear that sometimes these executives will put the cards on the table like, look, if you want this, you got to give me that. You have a lot of these kids that come out of Hollywood, they do not come out unscathed. You have a lot of, people in these spaces that deal with all type of mental health issues. Y'all remind me of the guy whose daughter, I actually did content on this. His daughter grew up in Hollywood. We know she was sexually abused. We know it. It's on record. She said it, right? But now that she wants to do sex work, people are acting like it was some producer. I can't think of his name right now. And people are acting like, oh, yay, that's so cute. She wants to do sex work. Like, are we really not going to talk about the underlying issues here? How she's literally tied to Hollywood. Not only that, but she admitted being sexually abused before. So we just going to skip over that part because of yay, feminism, yay, slut culture, and all this other stuff. So, that stuff was concerning to me, especially considering the fact with everything going on with this Epstein thing. Y'all saw the lady that recently took over the case, the judge. Her son was literally just killed, and we are, she was connected to that case. All right. You got Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in prison right now, right, for trafficking these underage girls. Steven Spielberg, thank you, Grace. That's whose daughter I was talking about. But you have these Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in jail right now, who is very connected to these very prestigious, elitist people. So, yes, let's take mental health serious, right? But there have been many women, even just thinking about this, right? There have been many women that because of mental health issues, they will be telling people, they will literally be telling them, I was raped, I was molested, this person did this to me. And because of that, people would overlook, right, those allegations because, oh, they're just crazy. Not even realizing that people with mental disabilities are actually sometimes the most at risk to be manipulated, to be sexually abused, and some of these other things. Any type of mental health issue that can literally go from bipolar to schizophrenia, that can even go to just regular depression, right? But when you have people that are dealing with these mental health issues, you actually have people that seek them out and cling to them because they know that oftentimes people are not going to believe them. You may not have as many people in their corner. You're going to have people that kind of overlook these things. So Agricolarex, I think that's how you said it, said I was sexually abused is more common and people think it's so common. It's so common. It's so heartbreaking. And I hate this culture that has masked or allowed a lot of women to mask their pain and their trauma behind these hashtags and these movements. Yes, I absolutely believe in personal freedom. However, we have to have nuanced, balanced perspectives and discussions about these things. Oftentimes, when you have these, whatever you want to call them, prostitutes, sex workers, you have people, porn stars, when their stories come out about how they were used, how they were manipulated, how they were sexually abused, how they were molested, how they may have been even pimped out to even go into these jobs. And then now you even more so having the girls coming out saying, I ain't gonna lie, it was the glitz and the glam that I was seeing on social media that moved me towards that lifestyle. Men looking at my body, allowing me to, and I say that loosely because yes, some of these people are making this choice, right? But allowing me to commodify my body and easily make money through these routes. You have these women coming out saying this on record. These stories never go as viral. These stories do not hit your mainstream media. Why? Why? Is it because a lot of the people funding some of your mainstream media news may also not even have actual connections to some of these high level people that are participating in these things, right? But you think about their money interest too. You think about their money interest too. Some of these people are dipping into pots. It wouldn't be hard for me to believe that some of the people funding our media may also be funding the porn industry. So yeah, those are just some things, to think about. I feel for Kanye. I just really hope that he has people around him that are actually very protective and want the best for him. And sometimes that's not necessarily silencing people, right? And so let's not count out the fact that there have been people in Hollywood that have been intentionally silenced. And this is why I always say, how much can your entertainer actually be a leader, right? When they have to align with their interests of their sponsors. People can call up a Snoop Dogg, people can call up a Nick Cannon and say, shut the heck up, right? And though Kanye West appears to be way more autonomous, right? He seems to be at a level of income and at a level of ownership where he can say and do what he wants. But most entertainers don't have that lane. It could be one or two things, right? They either don't have that lane or the money, the corporate interest is just way more important. They're not willing to sacrifice anything. They're just not willing to do it, right? So they make a choice and they say, hey, I'm going to keep quiet about these certain things, or I won't talk about these certain things. Or if I do talk about these things, I'm going to highlight it in a way that appeases my sponsors. So Helena J said Elon Musk family is shady. Kanye needs better company. I saw somebody tweeted or something today said the chip that Elon Musk put in Kanye is malfunctioning. He needs a new one. And I was just so tickled about it, y'all. But yeah, so that's your boy Kanye West. So we'll see what continues to happen with that. I don't, particularly want to kind of continue feeding into the whole, spectacle, because the media, helps play into this too, and what we share and how we share, right? Because I just think some things are not necessarily newsworthy, or particularly not as newsworthy as the levels we allow them to get to. But we'll see what happens with him and his presidential run and stuff like that. But as we're talking about the pedos, right? And we're going to go ahead and talk about this. And this is going to be my last little topic for tonight before I hop off. So I'm pretty sure y'all have not heard this story yet, right? And this is absolutely for a reason. Man who led Black Lives Matter protests arrested on child pornography charges, held without bail, excuse me. Chris DeVries, 37, of Jackson, New Hampshire, who led the Black Lives Matter protests in New Hampshire last month, has been indicted on child pornography charges. According to the Washington Examiner, DeVries led a protest back on June called Skate Away to Hate, which encouraged participants to ride skateboards down a local highway to show support for the Black Lives Matter movement. In a statement, he said, if we divest funds, now this is why y'all got to pay attention to who's running your movements, who has a hand in your movements, and who what their actual interests are. So if we divest funds from the police and prison systems, we can all benefit. Those funds can go to local community and social services. Oh, is that right? Is that right? At the protest, the rise spoke through a bullhorn and listed off a number of demands that come from local chapters of Black Lives Matter. The Fun police protest leader arrested for child porn. This is him. According to Jackson Police Chief Chris Pursley, DeVries has been charged with 6 counts of possessing child sexual abuse images, 1 count of possession of mushrooms, and 1 count of falsifying physical evidence. I can't comment on the case specifically. He is charged criminal defending adjunction and presumed innocent until proven guilty. But I can say that generally speaking, people should be very cautious about listening to voices suggesting defunding the police because their motives are not always in the best interest of society. Allegedly, the falsifying physical evidence complaint says that DeVries threw his cell phone from the porch. When law enforcement arrived, the child abuse images shows underage girls in either lewd exhibition of private parts or engaging in sexual activity. All right. They found more than 60 images of child sexual abuse. Now, oh, my bad, y'all. I didn't know I wasn't sharing my screen. Let me show y'all what the guy looks like. I thought I was sharing the screen. Now, you have a national movement, right? You have a national movement that's in the spotlight right now. And you have one of the main activists or figure that actually led a protest being connected to child pornography, right? Now, I'm willing to bet if you go into a lot of these people's histories, you will find all kind of things. I guess to some extent, you're going to attract all different types of people when you have a organization that is on a national scale. However, I just find it so interesting and so convenient that somebody that makes a statement, he says, if we divest funds from police and prison systems, we can all benefit. Like, I mean, the jokes write themselves, man. Those funds can go to local communities and social services, right? I've told people, man, that a lot of the defund the police conversation is coming from blue checks. It's coming from college kids. It's coming from people that are crossing the bridges and don't actually live in these freaking communities. And now you can add criminals to that list, allegedly. Like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I want some people to realize that with your good heart, with your good intentions, with the way the media is filtering things, they are playing you. There are a lot of people using your empathy and your caring um, uh, to push agendas that are not yours. That are not yours. I just tweeted the other day. I think this tweet, as a matter of fact, I think this is my most far-reaching tweet. This tweet got, let's see how many this tweet got let's see how many retweets this got. I don't think I've ever tweeted something. I had to mute the tweet because I was getting so much feedback. That's why I have to go back and find it. So this tweet got 12,000 likes, 4,500 retweets. The tweet says, Black Lives Matter is sponsored by the same group of people that got Nick Cannon fired. But and then I did the little sleep emoji, right? So some people, now that's not, there's not a lot of context there, right? People can take it. They can let whatever narratives they have run wild. That's not that I didn't add a lot. I didn't add any disclaimers. I didn't put any other content to that. I simply said Black Lives Matter is sponsored by the same group of people that got Nick Cannon fired. But, right? So people coming in, making their comments. But what I need y'all to understand, whether people like the tweet or not, whether you like my methods, now I literally have thousands of people on Twitter Googling who funds Black Lives Matter, who sponsors Black Lives Matter. Now people want to know, because all I did is drop a seed. That's all I did. Just planted a little something. I dropped just enough seed to make people curious. Now you go find the information for yourself. A lot of people are supporting this organization, right? And the narrative is being ran away with. You have people that are promoting agendas that are not yours. You have people promoting agendas that can actually be detrimental to you while not even living in your community. And they are doing that all based on mostly emotion, right? Drop a little story here, drop a little video there. Now you are fully invested into this organization without knowing who sponsors it, without knowing who heads it, without knowing what other things they're sponsoring, without knowing what their actual interest is. So these are things to think about. And you only have to plant a seed. The media is not going to do it. There's a good reason why with the organization that is getting national attention right now, this story, you got 60 photos of children, 60 lewd photos of children on your phone, and you just had a mic saying we need to defund the police. How is that? How is that not a story? The story wrote itself. The story wrote itself. So, let's just keep that in mind. A lot of what we see is filtered. They try to give us our heroes. There is narratives that they continue to push, and that is for a reason, right? But we combat that with actual everyday principles, and when you instill those principles, particularly starting with yourself, amongst your family, spreading to your community. But they don't want you to know. This is why they don't share the real stories with you, because they don't want you to know what power you have. They don't want you to know what things actually affect your everyday quality of life, actually impact you and your family. They don't want you to know that the same people whispering in your ear, oh, just, you know what'll fix everything? Let's just defund the police. Let's just defund the police. Now, the same guy telling you that is going to come across the bridge, come into your freaking neighborhood. He know you have to work all freaking day because you're an essential worker. Now he's trying to come in and mess with your kids because your kids are more vulnerable, or your kids may or may not have mental health issues. Now your kids are more vulnerable, and the police are nowhere to be found. Now they're not going to show you that armed black men can't actually march in the streets. They don't get tear gassed. They don't get bullied by the police. They're not going to show you that because they don't want you to know that you can do that. They don't want you to know you can protect your communities. They don't want you to know you can be armed. They want you to think that only bad people, right? Oh, only bad people would ever do that. Criminals. What do you need a firearm for? We don't need to. We don't want to go putting ideas in these Negroes' heads. We don't want to do that now. Thinking they can protect their own community. Why would we want to get them? No, that doesn't put money in our pockets. You know what does put money in our pockets? All those videos of them kneeling, saying I can't breathe, being a victim. That'll get them clicking. That'll keep them watching. Gotta have a boogeyman. Like, and the crazy part about it, man, when you start going down this rabbit hole and you actually see the way they filter information and how it's presented to us, how they choose the villains and choose the heroes, how they give the heroes to us, like you can't unsee it. Like, so it's almost funny to me now. It's unfortunate, man. And this is why I am trying to get people to, I honestly believe when people drop the celebrity worship, right? When people drop the celebrity worship, they drop the stand culture because celebrities have sponsors, you don't. So their interests are not gonna always align with yours. And when people start thinking, man, shoot, like what's the difference between me and LeBron? I could do that. I could do what he does on my scale. I can be influential in my community. I could lead in this way. I trust myself. But yeah. I mean, hey. But yeah, y'all. So the propaganda machine keeps the propaganda train keeps chugging. So we have to continue to combat the BS, right? And when you do that, and you do that with principles, and it starts off slowly, and then it's a ripple effect, you will certainly see some of these issues fix themselves. That's what I believe. So, but that is it for tonight, y'all. I just kind of want to briefly talk about some of those things. Like I said again, if you have not checked out my interview that I did with Ray last night, it was really good. I'm gonna drop that link below in this video, under this video, and then also is in my community tab as well. And then I see Helena saying something about a Labor Day call-in show. So he actually did a call-in show. So I might link with him to see if he can kind of help me figure out how to get that very because I want it like nice and smooth, and I want the sound quality to be, you know, up to par and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be looking into that. Again, thank y'all to my patrons. Thank you to everyone that super chatted tonight. Thank you to my VIP patrons, Michael Wright and Ray Ray. Thank y'all for rocking with me every Tuesday. And all right, y'all, have a good night. Bye-bye.